Welcome, welcome. So we're all moving through this journey that we call retreat, right? And that includes this expression. So much has already been unfolding. Sharon asked us, those of us who she had given refuge in the lineage, asked us to teach. At a certain point, she wanted us to come up with some words that actually described our unique flavor of that. It was really difficult. I found that challenging, just to write about it from that point of view. It was for her website. And that actually hasn't occurred in consciousness, or I haven't thought about that in a long time. But in meditation yesterday evening maybe or something, I thought, yeah, the fire here is to shatter the belief in separation. Shatter it. And that isn't always comfortable here, or when I'm speaking, or during retreat. It has a certain fierceness to it, and I'm aware of that. I've been told that many times. In the beginning of Full Circle Family, when I was first teaching, it was all of my dearest friends. And they were all kind of like, Barb Zukin would be like, it's real fierce. It's real fierce. I'm just saying, it's real fierce. I have beautiful friends, all of you, very sincere people. But honestly, sincerely, and this is an old metaphor, it's been used in spiritual speaking for many years, but it has potency. It's honestly like looking at water that doesn't believe it's wet. I'm seeing water that still believes it has no wetness. And it's so, and I don't mean that about you guys personally. I mean the world at large. I'm not please don't take that and, she's pointing me out, because that can really happen in retreat. I'm just speaking about the world. Look at the positionalities in the world. So we are all source. Every one of us is water. Let's say the essence is water. Source, love. Dare I say love in spiritual circles. And we have a mind world, 8 billion. Is it more than that now? 9 billion? I don't know. 8 billion mind worlds coloring, it's like a lens, an orientation, the reality of sameness, same, of essence, the essence. And then we endeavor to make peace from the position. It's insanity. It is insanity. We will never be peaceful in positionality, right? We get that, right? That doesn't exist in positionality. We can play with positionality. It's part of human beingness, but not as a fundamental identification in reality. I get to be Jennifer. Actually, one of the biggest, most overwhelming astonishments has been the enjoyment of the expression, you know, in all of it, like irritability, funkiness, I don't know, it doesn't matter, it comes and goes. It's like, oh yeah, there's Jennifer. But the peacefulness will not be found in positions, because of the lenses the mind whirls. So the element within compassion that is understanding has to do with discernment rather than judgment. Discernment. Knowing what something is and understanding why it's behaving the way it is. I'm a cattle rancher's daughter from northeastern Oregon, so sometimes the things that download are just very practical examples. You know, I live in the mountains. But it always astounds me. In the States, we have a national park called Yellowstone, and there's a lot of wild animals in Yellowstone. And the people go driving through Yellowstone and they want to play with the grizzly bears and play with the, buffalo. And it's like, well, that's a grizzly bear. That's a buffalo. That's what it is. It's not good or bad, as Shakespeare said. Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Everything is what it is. And when we live at a level of discernment, then the compassion is a natural outpouring of that level of consciousness. We can't create wetness, right? If we're water, we don't sit there and work really hard to manufacture wetness. We have to realize what we are and then be it. And that's so tricky. Here, at the beginning of retreat, there were a couple of stumbling blocks. There usually are. And this time, there's that 1/10,000th of a second between direct reality and thinking about reality. And I caught just in very subtle, very, very, very subtle. It was not on the level, here, it used to be on the level of indignation quite a bit. I was an indignant person, sort of righteous anger. And that has faded and faded and faded, but, you're still vigilant. I caught this little, just a subtle, hardening, I guess I might say. It wasn't even resistance, on the level of resistance, but it was a subtle gripping in response to the challenges. I thought, oh yeah, there it is. Just, it's so subtle, it doesn't even feel like stress, but yet it's there. This real subtle gripping, this real subtle, here's reality, but here's how reality should be. Here's how this retreat should be. Subtle. And it gets more and more and more and more and more subtle. And especially if we have any kind of spiritual ego, which is super easy to have color our perception in this day and age because of all the internet gurus and all the groovy language and everybody's speaking non-dual and puffing ayahuasca and being a teacher and the whole thing. I've got nothing against ayahuasca. I don't mean it that way. It's very easy to adopt another philosophy, another religion, another reality should be, and put a spiritual flair on it. And it can be very subtle. Really, really subtle. You know, as the gap, that gap, direct reality, what reality should be, begins to close. As that actually begins to close through emptiness, compassion, discernment. Whereas we maybe used to get triggered and it would be real obvious, like indignation or righteous anger, fury, depression, shame, whatever it is, those defenses that keep us from recognizing truth. It becomes more subtle. The separation and it's pre-verbal. There's no words to it. It's just a sense, a very deep sense, you know. But whatever it is, whenever we're inhabiting the world of would've, should've, could've, should, if only, judging, condemnation of ourselves or others, strongly needing a position in order to feel okay. It is a very ripe opportunity to question into that. To be still, question, and remember. You can use the word contemplate or remember or recognize what is actually here. The wetness of the water. The love, the essence, the presence, the effortless presence. And it can be that quick, right? Because we've learned that about our attention. It's just move. You could be in the midst of something. Just real, you know, it doesn't have to be, oh man, I got to get to the meditation room, sit for 40 minutes. And, you know, I mean, maybe you can, beautiful. But maybe it has to be just like, give me a sec. Give me a sec. Regálame un momento. Find it. Attend to it. Remember. Get in the water. Feel the wetness. And listen compassionately with discernment as effortless presence informs the moment as the moment. And it's naked because it's free of all of, you've taken off the colored glasses. And I'm telling you what, that face, maybe not for you. Here was like the vivid reality of existence, you know, blew these circuits. You can see it. It's so present here this morning. There was a deep wondering how I was going to be able to sit here and talk. It's literally like being in a popcorn machine up here right now. Not out of stress, out of the birds and the bees, life itself. The potency of like actual existence as it's directly encountered. Whoa. I'm being very transparent right now. I'm not holding it together. Ooh, it's like I grabbed onto the power line. Some people integrate it easily. In this form, it's been real like, whoo. The wetness. Thank you, Debbie. The love that actually is this moment. You know, nothing exists without love's stirring, breathing the breath of God upon the deep no thing. Do we understand? You know, here there was an experience that solidly, it is now. It is. It won't ever be forgotten. Where, you know, I'd be sitting on the couch and no thing, the void, the absolute no thing. And then the whole body of existence, like a flash of lightning, here, now. And there was a realization, oh my God, nothing has to exist. Nothing exists out of love. It brings itself into form through and as and from love. Whew. And then the judging positions go, well, what about people who rape kids and war? And, you know, this is an act of love. This is reality giving of itself and the mind world grabbing onto it and forming it into good versus bad. If that drops out, all of that goes away. And the reality of love has an avenue through pure awareness that is no longer colored by the mind for what we would call grace and miracles, but it just is. It just is. It's truly unconditional, see? So if we want to put the condition of war on it, there's nobody there saying, okay, don't. There's no punishing man in the sky with the big beard and, you know, the rewarding, punishing, rewarding, punishing. No. There's pure reality. Giving, 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 giving. The moment, the moment, the moment. Try to stop the moment. There is no stopping the moment. It's given. What glasses do we want to put on it? What do we want to see? This? Or the wetness of water? That's up. That's up to us. If there is such a thing as co-creation or manifesting or whatever, it's within that realm. We don't take and give life. That's source. But can we shape it and see it the way we want to? Yeah, we're free to do so, and we do. All the time. So an identified mind, it's dangerous, guys. And it can get very subtle, very spiritual. We can hide out in all kinds of places. I seem to tell the same stories. Nanette, some of you know Nanette, she's assisting me with a bunch of full circle stuff, but she calls them the drum beats of Jennifer's talks. There's a certain drum beat, but some human beings are so inspirational that I love to bring them in. And I don't know how many of you know about the man, his name is Len Hugh, and he practices Ho'oponopono. Thank you, please forgive me. A lot of the New Age spiritual people have changed it to please, I forgive you. Missing the entire point. Thank you, please forgive me. I love you. I don't know, there's one other part. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I love you.
Okay, there you go. But he calls it scrubbing reality back to zero. Scrubbing reality back to zero. So this man, with no philosophy, nothing but his understanding, not intellectual, understanding through direct experience, that how we see reality matters, goes into the prison for the criminally insane, where people have done, the criminally insane, and he starts just sitting there. And everything that would come forward for him, like, that's bad, this is wrong, that person did this, he would just scrub it to zero. Please forgive me for needing to see it that way. And everyone got well. Started baking cookies and writing books and living with each other harmoniously. The true nature came up and through spontaneously, because he sat there and said, this is not reality, and this is not how reality is, and I won't see reality this way. I won't do it. It's not fantasy. This is truth. I have one direct experience that is I worked in child protective services for a few years, and wow. And this was, I don't know, early 30s? I don't really remember. I think I was in my early 30s. And I was in a home where children were being used for purposes that you just can't. And there was a moment, you know how sometimes something arises from the truth that just intercepts the mind's view. And it can't be believed because it's not a believable thing that's arising, but it is just, you know it to be true. Instantly, you know it to be true. And I looked in this man's eyes, and somehow, certainly not through Jennifer's capacity, I saw him for what he was. I saw the true nature. And there was a moment where we saw it. I mean, he had on some glasses, some colored, a mind world that was causing great harm and damage to children. And I don't think he was conscious of that moment. I don't know. But I recognized it, and it startled me deeply. I didn't have, like, whatever we call this, awakened consciousness. I wasn't a teacher, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I was a nurse in rural northeastern Oregon in a home where children were being used as sex slaves. And that moment grabbed me in a way that began a search. Like, what was that? What is this? What actually sees? What sees prior to dividing up into this, that, the other thing? Just the pure seeing. What is that? And does it have any attributes? Does it have any attributes? Hence, clear light. So when we talk about emptiness and compassion and power, it's not like a trivial thing. It's on a level of understanding that can only come from beyond the thinking mind and beyond positions and judgment and shoulds and shouldn'ts and all the rest, rights and wrongs. And if we believe that that's going to be super, super easy for the ego to let go of, it might be for you. I hope so. I mean, the young people coming onto the planet, maybe this is like just nothing to them. I don't know. Here, that leap, Dr. Hawkins always called it one of the biggest leaps, and Adya as well, from judgment to discernment, from right and wrong and nice and good and bad to compassionate emptiness, is the nakedness. You got to strip down and look at all those places that you want to be right. Like at the beginning of this retreat, when there was just a little subtle like, And I'm like, what is that? A little bit of in againstness towards what actually is. And then a rightness to reinforce it. I'm not against anything, I'm just right. Oh, we are funny. Oh. But what I want to emphasize The good news is that water is wet. We are love. It is the truth. Is it obscured? Are we polishing the mirror? Yes. Yeah. Removing the veils, however you want to think about it. Investigating the identifications. Yeah. But even if we just get a glimpse at retreat or in some other situation, even if we just get a glimpse, the great intelligence that we call nature will unfold. It will unfold naturally. It will. Might be some class 5 rapids in there. Put on your life jacket. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be a real gentle ride. We've got about 5 minutes here. I want to there has always been a movement, I guess you might call it, here for touch. I've always been an affectionate person. I was a nurse, back in the day when nurses still really didn't just type on their computers as they asked you questions, but did patient care. Sarah might remember. A massage therapist, a traditional Thai healer. The direct experience here is that the heart chakra opens right here. And I found out later that that's actually a thing. But I didn't know at the time, but I could just sense it. And not that anyone else's has to look like mine at all. That is not the point. But the way that source made itself known to itself through this instrument was a Kundalini experience. And so that involved Shakti Ma and Kali Ma and these representations and actual energy frequencies of the Great Mother. And I'm not talking about gender. I'm not talking about male, female, that the way we perceive it with human, whatever. It's she who animates. The breath of God moves across the deep roaring silence, and through her gift becomes all of this material reality. She's called different things in different traditions. I still can't say the word. I listened to it online like 50 times. I still can't say it, but it's my favorite one. There's a word for it in Hebrew that's beautiful, but anyway. Say it loud. Ashkina. Sophia, I don't care what you call it. Holy Spirit. And there's usually a moment in retreat where that becomes a possibility. So for guided meditation today, I would be moved to put hands on if you would enjoy that. Let's all close our eyes, and if you don't want to be touched, perfectly, absolutely fine, just raise your hand. Let's just close our eyes. And whoever doesn't want to be touched, you can raise your hand. Okay, you can open your eyes. You know, honestly, there's nothing here there's no agenda with it. I don't get to know anything. It's not like I'm touching you and then I'll sense something and push in something else and make a plan. I've done that in my life, and there's nothing wrong with it. I spent many years doing that very thing, and it was fine, but this is not that. This is just, I'm putting my hand on. And it has been a gift for all of us. Not from Jennifer, but people have had some deep experiences, and other people have just been like, "Oh, that was nice," and that's cool too. So I thought that we would do that for the guided meditation. You can also just go to the river if it's not your thing. That's cool too. I totally get it.